Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today for you guys I have a video that is going to be a makeup review, and we are going to be reviewing the highly controversial over Tarte Shapetape foundation, and I have it in the matte one and the hydrating one. And so I know that this video is probably a little bit long overdue or late or whatever you want to call it. So many people have come out with these reviews. I'm sure that you guys have probably already watched tons of these reviews, but I wanted to get my opinion out there on the foundation. And before we start off with this, I just want to make a statement on it, and that is probably the same statement you have heard over and over again from different beauty gurus, and that is that this foundation, what they did was not acceptable at all. They are the leading concealer brand, or I want to say leading, I'm not sure if that's actually correct, but Tarte came out with their concealer in 2016, and it's the Tarte Shapetape concealer, and it got really popular in 2017, and it is probably the most popular concealer out there right now. I'm sure that if not all of you, then most of you probably own this concealer or plan on owning it or did own it at one point. It is an amazing concealer. It is very full coverage and it'll last all day, and it's just a very good concealer. So when Tarte announced that they were coming out with the Tarte Shapetape foundation, the world was shook. We were all quaking and we were all super excited for this foundation to come out. And then they released this photo. Yeah. There aren't very many shades there for women of color, and that is not okay. They have, I think, around 12 shades for lighter women, and then 3 to 4 shades for women of color. And that's not okay. It is 2018, guys, and there shouldn't even be a product released out there if it's not all-inclusive to everybody. I can't imagine going to the store or going online and trying to find my shade of foundation and it is not there. I would be very distraught. Like, I can't imagine that. But Rihanna, when she came out with her Fenty beauty line, she released either 50 or over 50 shades, and it was very inclusive, and it's a very good brand. I personally have not tried it, but I've heard tons of reviews on it, and all the reviews I've heard is said that it is a great brand, and I know that it is very inclusive because of the shade ranges that it does have. So if Rihanna, someone who is new into this makeup industry, is going to come out with a brand and immediately have an all-inclusive brand where everybody, women of color and lighter women, have all their shades that they could possibly need, then why would a company such as Tarte come out with 3 to 4 shades for women of color and then like 12 shades for lighter women? That's not okay. It is not okay to do that, and it is not something that we should support until they fix it. And I have heard that Tarte did announce that they are going to come out with more shades, but okay, why did you do that in the first place? Why isn't that something that you guys did in the first place? Because we loved your Tarte Shapetape concealer, and so we could have waited a few more months for you to get your brand correct and get your product correct and be completely all-inclusive. It's not okay to exclude certain skin shades. That's not okay. We could have waited. We could have simply waited for you to get your product correct so that everybody could be included and enjoy this, because like I said, I can't imagine going onto a website or going into the store and them not having my skin shade for my foundation. And I don't think that that is something that we should support until they do come out with more colors, because it is 2018 and we need to be all inclusive and we need to include everybody, no matter what, no matter how dark they are, how light they are. They could be purple for all we care, and they need a skin shade, because this is just not acceptable. But that is enough ranting on that, and let's actually get into the actual product review. And leaving all that behind, I'm going to let you guys know how the product actually performs. That way, when Tarte does decide to come out with more skin shades, then maybe it's a good product and maybe it is something we should invest in. So let's find out how the product actually applies to the skin. Okay, so I'm just going to pull all of my hair out of my face so that I can look like a potato for this video. Like I said, I have the matte foundation and I also have the hydrating foundation, and with these, Tarte has recommended that you have the brush that they use, and this is their own personal brush, along with the beauty blender that they came out. And the beauty blender is supposed to go specifically with the hydrating one, and the brush is supposed to go specifically with the matte one. And so that is how we're going to do it today. I thought maybe just applying it all with the beauty blender, because I feel like if it's a good foundation, you shouldn't have a special tool to apply it with. I feel like you should be able to apply it with anything you want to apply it with, whether it's these specific brushes or beauty blenders, or whether you have your own specific sponge, whether you want to apply it with your hands. I feel like it should all apply the same. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to review their tools that came with their foundations and use it specifically for the foundations that they said. So I do not have anything on my face right now except for my eyebrows done. That's the only thing I have done on my face. I don't have any primer or anything on, so I'm just going to start off by applying primer. And I'm using the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer. And I didn't want to use my hydrating one because we are using a hydrating foundation, so I want to see if it's actually hydrating without a hydrating primer. So let's just go ahead and prime up our face. So the first one that I want to go in with is the matte one, and I'm going to use it on this side of my face because I have predominantly a few more blemishes on this side, like some scarring up here, and then I had a few pimples right here like a week or two ago, but they're like disappearing now, so they're just like marks now. So I want to use the matte one on that side so that I can see if it really is a full coverage matte, and then I'm going to use the hydrating one on this side where it's basically mainly like a few freckles right here, and that's about it. So about the matte foundation, it is said that it is supposed to minimize your pores and absorb the shine so your face is completely matte, and then it also has a vitamin E in it that's supposed to help nourish your skin. So we're just going to see if that's what it does. And then also with both of these foundations, it's supposed to be full coverage, long wear, oil free, and they're both hypoallergenic as well. So I guess that's some good stuff to have. So it has the same applicator as the Tarte Shapetape. Right off the bat I see that. It has the same one. The brushes are actually... okay, yeah. I thought this one was the same size as this one, but the foundation brush is slightly bigger. Not very much bigger at all. Like, they're basically the same size, like as in roundness, but it's a little bit bigger. So, don't know if that really matters, but this applicator brush is a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to apply it like I normally would for foundation, the same amount I would, and then blend it out with the brush that they said to use for the matte foundation. So, and I'm using the shade Fair Neutral. I just tried to match my skin, and I'm gonna hope that it looks good. So now I'm just going to blend that out with the brush, and I will say that I'm not a fan of using brushes like these for my foundation because I tend to see that it gets streaky, but I'm going to use it for this video. And I don't have the Artiste brushes to compare them to, or compare this to, but I can say that this brush is actually really soft, and it doesn't appear to be streaking, but so far it's doing pretty good. And this brush also retails for $28. So if you guys wanted to know that, then the brush is $28. So that's not a bad price considering how expensive the Artiste brushes are, but try to get around that eyebrow without messing it up. Okay. So it is pretty full coverage. It did pretty good at covering up these marks right here and the scarring up here. You can't really see it. There's a little bit that you can see shining through with the scar up here, but I don't know if that's too noticeable to worry about at all. But it did a pretty good job, and it does appear to be matte, and as I was rubbing it in with the brush and applying it to my face, it did seem to start to get, not thicker, but it is a thicker foundation, so it starts to dry like a matte foundation should. So it does a pretty good job at being matte, and I will say that it doesn't feel that heavy on my face. I know that matte foundations can tend to be a little bit heavier, but it doesn't really feel that heavy on my face, so that's really good about this foundation and with the matte foundation. Okay, so now moving on to the hydrating side, I'm going to use a little sponge that they gave me, and I just went and wet it, so it is wet, and it did grow in size, I will say that. I'm actually going to compare it to a beauty blender. And I'm not going to wet my beauty blender because this is a brand new beauty blender. I just got it out of the container. I don't really feel like wetting it right now, but a beauty blender does grow double in size. So as you can see, it is almost double the size of the beauty blender. So it could be comparable to the beauty blender. I will say that it is soft and squishy, as it should be. And I'm just hoping it doesn't absorb a whole bunch of product, because I know that the beauty blender is really good at not absorbing all of my product compared to other sponges that I have used. And with this, I do also like that it has the flat edges on it and the pointed like side edge right there too. And this does retail for $18, so it's only $2 cheaper than the beauty blender. So we'll see if it's actually worth not spending the $2, but it's just $2 cheaper than a regular beauty blender, which sells for $20. So for the hydrating foundation, I got it in the shade Porcelain, which I think this is their lightest shade, and I think for the matte foundation, I got it one shade darker than their lightest foundation. I'm pretty sure that's correct. But the hydrating one is in the shade Porcelain, so I'm just going to apply that all over my face like I did with the matte foundation. I'll go in with a sponge. I'm just going to blend that into my skin. I just finished applying the hydrating side, and I will say that it feels a little hydrating. It's a little sticky compared to this side, but like not sticky. Like I'm comparing it to the matte side, so the matte of course is going to feel like hardened down and not sticky at all, and this one's going to feel a little bit more dewy, and it does feel dewy. And so I'm assuming that it's doing its job of hydrating. What it's supposed to do is make your skin look luminous, and it's supposed to give you a smoothing effect on your skin, and it has hyaluronic acid in it, which is supposed to hydrate. And so I will say that around this area right here, I really do feel a lot hydrated, and around this area, which is good because in this area right here, I'm like typically really dry, and so it feels hydrating right there right now. So, but like I said, my skin does feel dewy on this side and very matte on this side. Neither one of them really feel heavy. My face feels very light, and like I didn't just paint a layer of foundation on me. So that is really good about this foundation. So what I want to do is I just want to take the Tarte Shapetape, and I want to see how it applies with the Shapetape foundation on top of it. So I guess for this side and then my forehead, I'll use the brush, and then this side and my chin, I'll use the Beauty Blender, just so that we can see how those two tools also blend out the concealer. So like I said, I'm going to use the brush to blend out my forehead, and then I guess my nose and this side, and then I'm going to use the sponge to blend out this side and then my chin. When I was blending the concealer, and I will say that the concealer sits very nicely on top of the foundation, both of them sits very nicely with the concealer. And I will say, however, that using the brush to blend it out in this area right here, it took a little bit of the foundation off, and I wasn't really digging it because it seemed like harder to blend it in with the brush than it did with the sponge. And so on this side, no foundation got taken off at all, and it blended really well. I like the sponge better than the brush. Some people's opinions could be different, but as far as my opinion goes, I think that the brush is good for blending out the matte foundation, but that's about it for me. I didn't like how it blended out the concealer because it looked like it took a little bit of my foundation off when I tried blending it. So I'm more of the sponge fan, and the sponge is also cheaper by $10, so that's also good about it. But the foundation does sit very well onto my face with the concealer on top of it, so it is good that both of the formulas for the concealer and the foundation are able to mix together and they work good together. So I'm just going to finish up my makeup now and then give you my final thoughts on this foundation and their tools. For my final thoughts, you guys, I have concluded that I do think that this foundation is a good foundation, but it is not something that we should support right now until they decide to come out with a better shade range and a more inclusive shade range. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning of the video, but these foundations do retail for $39, which I do feel is a good price for the quality of these foundations. So overall, the foundation itself is good. It is a good quality and it does the job, and it's a decent price for a foundation such as this, but it's just not something that we should support right now. I, however, am a firm believer in second chances, and I feel that people can always redeem themselves, so I feel that this company can redeem themselves. I feel like once they come out with another shade range, and once they come out with a more inclusive shade range, this is going to be the perfect foundation for everybody. Whether you have oily skin or dry skin, there is a foundation for you. And I feel that it does the job that it needs to do, and that it will be a good foundation when Tarte decides to fix their mistake and they decide to come out with more shades. But until then, I just don't think it is something that we should support, because it's 2018 and we need to include everybody into everything, and especially a brand as big as Tarte, who has a giant platform up there for the beauty industry. They should know that you do not need to release a product unless you're fully inclusive, and it's something that they messed up on, and they had the chance to redeem themselves. So once they redeem themselves, it'll all be forgiven, hopefully, probably, maybe. But in my book, once they try to redeem themselves, if they did a good job at redeeming themselves and they came up with a full wide range of shades that fit everybody and every single person, then that's good. It's a good foundation for people to use then. But as of right now, with the shade ranges that they have and how they're not very inclusive, like, at all, I feel that this is not something that we should support, because we need to show love to everybody and show that we care about everybody. As far as the tools, like I said, the brush was good for the foundation, but when it came to the concealer and blending the concealer into the foundation, it didn't do as high of a job as I expected it to. The blending sponge, however, was good. I will say that this is good. It's $2 cheaper than a beauty blender. I don't know if $2 matter to you guys, if you want to spend the $20 on a beauty blender, the brand named beauty blender, or if you want to spend $18 on the sponge from Tarte, or you could even go and you can get one of Ulta brands, or the Real Techniques one, or the Morphe one if you wanted to. It's a sponge. It does the job. Like, I really don't think that there needs to be a specific sponge. How you apply your makeup is how you apply your makeup. That's my opinions on the tool. So that is the video today. Everything was entirely my opinion. You could have different opinions. You could have different statements to say on it. I have my own personal opinion. You guys have your own personal opinion. It is a good foundation, but it needs to be more inclusive. And so that needs to be out there. And so yeah, this, like I said, is my opinion. You guys have your opinion. If it's different, then it's okay, that's your opinion, but this is my opinion on foundation. And so yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I will say that I have more reviews for makeup coming out soon. I'm not gonna say what they're for, but I will say I have more makeup reviews coming very soon. And I also have some more makeup tutorials coming soon, as well as a few random videos in there for you guys as well. So just keep the lookout for those. But I hope you really enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell to see when I post. And I will see you in my next video.